Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing? You good? I know you good. You are at your favorite place, but we are also in the Bahamas at the same time. We're visiting with Griz Calderon. She's an author, and she's writing about a very interesting genre. So we're going to talk about that here on the Edge. She's talking about the Grim Reaper. And I told her that I have had, unfortunately, a couple premonitions from the Grim Reaper. And it did lead into death. But death is a part of the life process. It's guaranteed, like taxes. And it doesn't have to be devastating because you can prepare yourself, you can prepare your children. Sometimes it comes at the most inopportune time, shocking. Sometimes it's after a long illness. But it is something that we are not going to be able to avoid. So what we want to do is absorb it. And if we can absorb it through a fictional novel, it might make it a little easier for us. So let's welcome her to the show. How are you doing, Griz?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. What does Griz stand for?
It's short for Griselda.
Oh, Griselda. Okay. All right. Well, I like that. I like that. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. We've got some rain in the Bahamas today, so we're all inside.
Well, you know what? I love the rain, but that humidity. Oh my goodness, you got to get used to that. Your skin got
Yeah,
to get used to it.
yeah, definitely different than Texas.
Well, Texas is a dry heat, right?
It is, yes, especially in Dallas where I live. But Houston, I think, is a little different. It's humid like here.
Mhm.
But yeah.
I like that Dallas girl. There's nothing small in Dallas. Not the steaks, not the shoes, not the malls. There's nothing small in Dallas. Okay,
That's right.
I love it.
Well,
I love it.
Texas.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
So my name is Griz Calderon, and I live in Dallas, Texas, and I am retired. I'm a I was a human resources professional, and I retired in 2023. And what I did is I started writing a book. I did it not right away, but I needed something to do and to keep myself busy. So other than volunteering and all the things that I do back home and here on the island, I just wanted something to pass the time and I don't know, create something beautiful for the world.
Well, you're doing a great job at it. So you were a former HR professional, so you know a lot about people,
I do.
a lot about people's emotions, their ebbs and flows,
I
their
do.
desires, their needs, their pains, their lies, their suffering,
Yes, I do.
because all and ambitions, because all that comes through HR. All of that comes through HR. Well, good. Good, good, good. So you started writing this book. Why did you pick this particular genre and this particular zone of genius?
So I actually didn't start out writing a book. I was going on a trip and I wanted to read something that was interesting, and I didn't want to read anything that was action and zombies and romance. I just wanted something simple and something that I could take away from. And I didn't want to read more HR books, right? Motivation and all the books that we've read over the last 30 years. I just wanted something to take my mind off of things. And I wanted something to be short because my mind just goes everywhere all the time. So I needed something that I could focus on. And so I started writing stories, and I did a lot of back and forth with my sisters, and they were a big part of it for me. So I started writing stories because at night I like to read stories, but if it's a novel, I'll fall asleep. So, and not because it's boring, I fall asleep and then I can't remember where I left off. The book falls on the floor or the audio keeps going and it's on chapter 70 when I wake up. So
Right.
that's really hard for me. So I wanted something that I could pick up and read, and I could, finish the story and then go to sleep. And so I started writing these stories and I started sharing them with my sisters and with my friends. And I'd send them emails and text messages. Everyone had a different way of wanting to receive it. At some point, one of my sisters said, I don't want to read it. I want it, I want to listen to it. So I started doing research, right? And I started using the AI tools. We found 11 Labs, which records it in an AI voice. And then I did a Mid-Journey on Discord, and I created the pictures so that I could then create an MP3 or MP4 file to upload it to YouTube so that I could share it there.
Wow.
So that helped me a lot. And then I had to organize it. So I started organizing. I was like, okay, well, these stories are about this, and these stories are about this other topic. So how am I going to do this for everybody? So I started sectioning them off, and I thought, okay, well, so many stories per volume on YouTube. So I said, okay, no more than 20, because I wanted people to, kind of have an ending and then have another set of stories. And so I started organizing it and put it in on YouTube. And then one of my sisters is like, you should put it in a book. You should write a book. So then I was like, oh my gosh, like I've got to gather everything up. So I had them all in Word documents. And I just, they were very rough. And so even the ones on YouTube, they're unedited. And it's just kind of me putting stuff, on paper and then putting it through an AI. So I put them all, I opened up all the Word documents, put them into one Word document, and I found an editor on Reedsy, he was amazing, and he is amazing. So he's in Ireland. His name is Colm Farron, and he was magnificent working with. I mean, we got it done really fast, and he didn't change the stories. He cleaned them up, and he was just like, you don't need this, you don't need that. He had some questions like, what's going on here? I also gave him full control of what stories went in what order. I said, you can move them around. And initially, like I set up all these rules for myself because when I was writing the stories, right, I read them to a couple of people and, I kept getting you're head hopping, you're doing this, you're telling people, not showing them. And I was like, I don't care about all those rules. I made my own rules, right? I'm breaking all
Absolutely.
those rules.
You're
Right.
you're giving birth. It's your creation.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I was like, this is my baby. And I'm the type of person that likes to be read to. And I like short stories and I like Aesop's fables, right? Because they always have a moral and it's always something positive, right? They teach you something. And so I wanted something like that. I didn't want to rewrite what's already out there. And I didn't want to follow the hero story, right? Something happens and then this happens and that. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to write them however I want. So that's what I did. So I wrote these stories and, I didn't follow the rules. As I said, I made my own rules. I wanted one character other than the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper doesn't talk in my stories, right? He just kind of pushes the way that he communicates. He pushes it on people and they feel it. I wanted him to have powers where he could help people, help them deal with death, help them deal with whatever they're going through.
Mm.
So I made him a figure that's different from what everyone's used to. I didn't want him to be this skeletal, menacing figure. I wanted him to be compassionate and loving. And so that was really a good experience for me because I was able to grow his powers and I'd written all these rules for myself. And then one day I was like, okay, well, I have this story in my head and we were hiking somewhere in Canada and I kept thinking like, how am I going to make it work without breaking my own rules?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, well, I'll have to break it up into two stories so that I can have the two characters that I want. And so that's what I did. And that was kind of where the birth was of the link stories. So all of a sudden I thought, okay, well, some of the stories can be linked. I can tell it from one perspective and then from another perspective. And they're still standalone stories. So each story is standalone and you can read it and it's beginning to end and it's its own story with its own individual in it.
So
But
it's pretty much like an anthology or a collection of short stories in
yes.
one novel. But are they kind of consecutive? So like this person has one set of circumstances with this Grim Reaper, and then he has the next set of circumstances. The Grim Reaper supports him in that. Are are they sequential?
So they don't have to be read in order, and the stories that are linked, he's the Grim Reaper's in each one of them with that individual. So whether it's an animal or a person, but you see it from different perspectives. So you'll see that in volume two. You'll see it in volume one, but in volume two, there's also some characters from volume one.
Okay.
So my editor actually pulled some of the stories out from volume one and said, let's save those for volume two. And
Mm.
so he did the same thing in volume two, right? So now we're working on volume three, but you don't have to read the stories in order, which is great, right? So it's like one of those movies where it starts at the end and you go backwards, but
Oh, I know.
right,
I like those sometimes
yeah,
just because you're like so into it. It's great.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, I could see from what you're describing to me, I could also see this going into maybe short plays and monologues. And that'd
yeah,
be great too, because again, they're short stories. I did
right,
that with a book of poetry that I had. I went over to the local community theater and turned
yeah,
them into monologues, and
that's
it was
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah, to
Yeah,
see yourself give birth, but then it grow legs. That's really,
right,
really important.
absolutely.
What is
Yeah.
your inspiration for this? Because again, that is, I know what you want from your character, but how do you go into these dark places, or life's
So
experiences?
yeah, so I think we've all experienced things in our lives and we don't talk about them. And some of us have gone through things that people wouldn't even imagine the things that we've gone through. And they're not things that you talk about over dinner, right? And grief is something that's hard to talk about. No one suffers the same grief, right? Everyone is different. Everyone has different losses. We're all dealing with different things happening in our lives, whether they're medical or job related or related. And I think that for me, I call this emotional fiction because I try to pull from all the experiences that I have and that I've come across, right? So family members and friends, right? Like, we'll just talk about things, and I just find it really interesting, and I find like people are really resilient, and so are animals, right? And so I wanted to kind of put something out there um, that people can read and they feel connected to it somehow, right? So people will tell me, "Oh, your book made me cry," and it's like, okay, well, that's okay because that means that you connected with it, right? And
Exactly. You express
yeah,
some sort of emotion.
yeah. I mean, sometimes when I was writing them, I was crying and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like how are people going to date this, right?" But I think it's something really sweet, right? That it pulls into that emotional, part of you. So
That's very important because you want to capture the reader's attention. I
yes,
mean, if they're just sitting there flipping through it, it might as well be a magazine.
right,
They have
right.
no connection to it. And then they look forward to your creativity as how you can develop this even more.
Right.
So you talk about emotional fiction. That might be a whole different genre that people would, would look
Yeah,
into moving forward. That's great. You said
yeah,
humans and animals. How do you
yes.
bring in the animal element? Because you're surrounded by beauty there, in the Bahamas, everywhere. I mean, from the birds to the butterflies to
Everything.
the
The animals in
exotic
the
animals.
ocean.
But in addition to that, when you are in Texas, you've got horses and you've got the natural landscape
Yeah,
and the dry heat.
right. I mean, they all have souls, right? They're all
They all
lives,
have
right?
souls.
So everything is alive. I think one of the important things for me was trying to keep some of the stories realistic, right? So I've got a couple of dinosaur stories and some
Hmm.
dragon stories, but I put those in there because uh, I think as humans we're very connected to that, right? So there's the all the evolution, right? All the facts behind it. And so I did a lot of research, right? It was a lot of fun doing the research on, dinosaurs and dragons. And I didn't want it to be like fairy tale dragons, right? Like I wanted the Greek.
Dragons were real, okay? You cannot tell me. You cannot
Yeah.
tell me. I was at a networking meeting yesterday, and me and this other lady was bantering back and forth about all the beautiful places we've been, and we
Yeah.
both have been to Scotland.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I went looking for Nessie. Okay,
Yes, good.
the Loch Ness monster was real. She's not there now,
Yeah.
but she was absolutely real.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the woman goes, "Yo, you believe that?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Do you believe in the lost city of Atlantis?"
Right.
Yes, it was real.
Yeah.
And so again, it's we can't imagine these things if they've never transpired. I
Right,
don't believe that. They've
right,
had to been somewhere in our subconscious, even
right.
futuristics, aliens. Ooh, I can't wait to your next book. Maybe you'll put an alien in there. Or the supernatural or the
Right,
metaphysical, uh,
right.
because these things are real in our world. So I want you to share an excerpt from your
Okay,
book from us.
okay.
So tell us what book it is and give us an
So,
introduction.
so this is the first book. So this is Chronicles of the Grim Reaper, Volume 1. So this was my first book. It's got 37 short stories in it. And initially I'd submitted 40, but Colm pulled out a couple of them and we put them in book 2, which is this one here. It'll be out April 22nd, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, so this is my first book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I will read from The Presence in the Shadows. So this is actually the very first story that I wrote. So this was a story that I wanted to try to explain who the Grim Reaper was and do it in a way that wasn't just, hey, this is him. So I'm not starting at the beginning of the story. I'm just going to read from it. All
Okay.
right. John thought about the history of the Grim Reaper. Different cultures and religions had depicted him in various ways, but all shared a common theme of being who guides souls to the afterlife. In some traditions, he was seen as as a dark and menacing figure, while others he was seen as a compassionate guide. John couldn't help himself. Do you collect more than just human souls? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. The Reaper's mind flickered with the countless souls he had guided, humans, animals, even ancient beings forgotten by time. He was there to guide each one on to the next chapter. John closed his eyes, allowing his other senses to take over. He could almost see the glowing threads of the life of the Reaper perceived, each one with its unique essence. He felt the faint traces of emotions, hope, fear, love, and despair intermingling in the room. He opened his eyes and whispered, "Thank you." He wasn't entirely sure why he said it, but it felt right. He was grateful for the silent guardian of souls, the one who ensured the cycle of life and death remained unbroken.
You know, I love how you defined it as a person that helped souls, not just snatch bodies.
Right.
You know, Grim Reaper is a kind of menacing name.
Yeah.
It indicates or alludes to something that is mean or menacing or depressing or whatever. But again, he can be a facilitator, a
Hmm.
person that helps you leave because he comes for a reason.
Right.
And when he comes, when he came to me, it was strange. I'll tell you a little story. My brother had a best friend,
Hmm.
and his best friend died a long time ago. And I mean, this was his, my brother was in the music industry, and this was his ride or die. And I had a dream that I saw him in a coffee shop in New York. And my brother was drinking a lot. He was acting up. And I said, "Well, have you talked to, my brother?" And he goes, "Yes." He says, I'm going to be seeing him very soon. I'm going to be talking to him.
Oh,
And when he said that, because I'm very intuitive,
right.
and I knew that something was going to happen. So I asked my brother, I said, are you visited by Joe's spirit? He goes, "Yeah, often and regularly." He says,
Oh,
I have dreams about him and we have conversations and this, that, and the other. And I said, I was visited by him. And he goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "What did he say?" I said, "Oh, he said he's going to be talking to you about something." And I had no idea that he was going to be talking to him about his transition, about
oh,
his life, you know.
wow.
But the Grim Reaper is also kind because when Spirit sends him, it sends familiarity, somebody that you know, someone
Right.
that you can connect with,
Right. Yeah.
someone
Voice
that
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not some random stranger. Oh, just anybody. It is a connection. It's putting the pieces together. So I
Right.
understand what you're saying. So I love how you incorporated the part of the gentleness and the kindness that if you have a premonition or if you have insight or you have a dream, you know that it is being a person that's being channeled from a familiar place.
Yeah.
How is this book being received?
I think very well. I've all the reviews of, that I've received are pretty positive. I think there was one person, right, that came back and said like, had to put it down. It made me cry, and even then I thought, that's still a good review, right?
It
Like
is a good
maybe
review.
maybe it just wasn't a good time in their life, right? And I know, right, like people are dealing with death and they're grieving, and sometimes it's a hard thing to read when you're going through it at the moment. But I've also had lots of people come back and tell me like I could not get past, X person's death, and this helped me, kind of transition and get to that next level. And I think that it's a helpful tool in a way, that it just kind of makes you, or it helps you see it from a different perspective, right? So I think we've all grown up fearing death. We've grown up afraid to die. And I think when we come to the realization, and maybe it comes with age, but when you come to the realization that death is a part of life and we're all going to die, it's going to happen. It's just when it's going to happen. And when it does happen, we just need to make sure that we've had a good life, right? That we've done what we want to do, that we've said, I love you to the people that we love, that we spend time with our friends and live each day like it's the last, right? I mean, you hear that all the time, but no one really pays attention to it, right? It's all these sayings that you hear as you go through life. But, I think this has helped me. Last year I had a lot of medical issues and I was like, I'm okay with it, right? Like I had a peace about me just from writing it. And, my nieces were like, aren't you afraid to die? And I was like, I'm not afraid to die, right? Like, when it's your time, it's your time. I mean, no one wants to die, but it is a part of life, right? And as we
Well, no
age,
one
right?
wants to die because they are we are um, we want to predict everything. We want to
Right,
dictate. We want to control everything,
right.
and you can't do that. I was in a Los Angeles, and I pulled up next to one of these um, vehicles that don't have a driver. That
Oh, yes, yeah.
I was scared to death. I looked in there, and it was nobody in there. There wasn't even a passenger in there,
Oh,
and it was traveling alongside of me. So again,
yeah.
being
Fear
unpredictable
of the
is
unknown. Yeah.
being fearful of the unknown, and you don't have any idea. I mean, it was traveling along. It was not tailgating. It was braking it, stopping at the light. It was doing better than the people that had somebody
Yeah,
actually in the car with them.
right. Or the people driving.
Exactly. I said, so you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
and I don't believe, me personally, that death is the end. I think it's a transition. I
Hmm.
don't think it's how you die. I think it's how you live. I think when
Right.
you come into this world, you have signed a soul contract. You signed up for an assignment. You
Hmm.
signed up for the parents. And unfortunately, I had one of my guests on the show, and she goes in and she talks to these families after these mass shootings.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I said, well, what do you say to them? And she said, all I do first is just hold space.
Right.
I just hold space in silence for them. She says, and then the communication will come later. Because
Hmm.
of that soul contract, some people only signed up for, 2 years.
Wow.
Some only signed up for 5. Some
Hmm.
signed up for 101. You know,
Hmm.
I had a friend, and I don't mean to laugh, bless her heart, but her mother is just laying there. She was just laying there for almost a year. And she said, what is she waiting for?
Yeah.
What is she waiting for? So
Yeah.
there's some unfinished business. And I said, well, maybe she had a lot to talk to God about before she could make the transition.
Right.
Maybe she's not going to make the transition. Maybe she's going to wake up and, sit there and have
Be
some tea
okay.
with you.
Be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. You
So
never know.
we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
But to be fearful of it um, is not fair. And to deny children the access to the truth
Hmm.
about it is not fair. I have a friend that told her daughter, oh no, grandma's just sleeping.
Hmm.
Now her daughter's afraid to go to sleep
Oh, no.
because she doesn't know if she's going to end up in a casket. I had
Right.
another friend that told that I was in the car with her, and she says, oh, Miss April, my grandmother's over there resting. And I said, where? I looked over and there was a cemetery. Yes, she's over there with a bunch of other people. They're resting and they're talking to God, and it's okay because we're all going to end up there one day or another. But my mom said that she was okay. I mean, she just explained it to her in the most simplistic terms, and
Right,
she was okay.
right,
So, death is not what we think it is. Now, of
right,
course, if it's something traumatic and it's a shock, and you know, we've got to get over that. But that's our own doing. And
right.
people that go to funerals, I don't go to funerals anymore. If they have a celebration of life and we're at the park and we're drinking and eating and laughing and telling good stories, fine. But the funerals are for the living; they're not for the dead.
That's what I tell everyone. Right.
You know,
E- not even just the funerals, but graveyards, right? They're for us, right? The bodies are there, but they're for us to visit and to remember, right? So they
right,
hold the memory.
right.
Um,
Well, I don't want to be put in the ground. I want to be turned back to ash and just over somewhere, over the Bahamas or over Italy. Just sprinkle
yeah.
me everywhere. That's what I do with my mother. When I go somewhere, I take some of her ashes and I said, "Oh, Mom, you like this place," and I
Yeah.
sprinkle some ashes. But it was strange. We were in where were we at? Oh, we were in, I don't know, we were in some country or whatever, and I took her ashes, and before I spread them, her spirit said, "I don't know nothing about this over here. I don't want to be.
Don't put me here.
Don't
Don't
put me here. Don't put me here." And you know what? I put those little ashes back in that container
back in the bag.
and took it right. Now, do you believe in channeling? Do you believe in spiritual connections and conversations with spirits?
Absolutely, I do. Yep. Like you said, anything's possible, right? And I do
Anything is
feel that
possible.
when people are connected, right? Like I
And
am.
they are in tune. So tell us a little bit about the second book. How did you continue
So,
that?
so the second book is just volume two. So it's got the same title. I just do them volume one, volume two. And I knew that when I started putting them in books that I wanted to continue them because I thought the stories are endless, right? Like there's just so many stories to tell. But book two actually had this one has 46 stories. So the other one had 37 stories, and this one has 46. And I actually love both of the covers. So this cover was designed by George Long, and then I picked another cover design guide because I like Readsy. So it's a great platform for authors. So if there's any authors out there listening, right, Readsy's a great place. But I wanted something for book two that was a little softer because when I've done the book signings, I've got a banner and it's different from the books. But when people walk into Barnes and Noble and they see the Grim Reaper on a big board or a
Right.
big poster, right? Some of them just kind of walk by, and I've had people say, like, do I need to go to church before I read your book? And I'm like, well, you can
Mm,
go, right? Like, I'm not stopping you, but you don't have to. Um, but so book two has some great stories. So there's stories in here that are they're very historical. So Magellan, Vasco da Gama. I tried to bring in characters, right, that are from our history that we learned about when we were kids. That, as a kid, you learn about all these people, and you're just like, who are they, right? And you don't really think it's important. But I went to Portugal last year, and I found it really interesting. So I tried to pull from experiences that I've had. So I wrote about the price of spices, right? All the people that went on the ships and they went on these, expeditions and they lost their lives in the water. So, the war, like war stories are just unbelievable to me, right? So I love to talk to people who were, who are vets and, back then they were, most of them are older or passed on now, but there's so many stories that weren't told. And I feel like there was so many lives lost that they're unaccounted for. And so I wrote some stories about that day, about D-Day, about the three beaches. So there's stories in here that are there's some dragon stories as well. But I wanted something that was factual as well, right? So I try to make them I wouldn't say fun, but just something for you to learn as
entertaining.
well, right?
Entertaining.
Learn. Yeah, you do learn because I've had people tell me, I'm reading a book and I've never heard of that. And they'll go and Google whatever it is. And they're like, that's a real place. And I'm like, yes, it is. And they're like, that's a real person, right? So So I tried to do something a little different there, but
Now, let me ask you a question, and I'm sure that you've been approached on this before. They're going to go, well, is she into the darkness because she's talking about the Grim Reaper? And someone asked you, do I need to go to church before? She's talking about mystics and dragons and all of that. Has anyone ever challenged you or questioned you, or is that a belief? Because that's very real too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, especially anybody that knows me or that has met me, even through the books, people I don't know, I think they realize when they talk to me that I'm not, it's not about evil and it's not about scary or horror. Because that's one of the things I didn't want, right? I don't have anything in here that is scary. There's no cuss words or anything. So it's a very, I think the book reflects a lot about me, right? So it tells a lot. The way that I tell the stories, it's like I'm telling the story to someone, right? And I wanted it to be like you're being told a story, right? And you're really listening and you're understanding it, right? And some people, as I said, they can really take that story and say, like, I feel that, right? Like I get it, right? Like I've been through that, or I know somebody that went through that. So I think people find a lot of things in common with themselves when they read these stories. And it's a scary thing sometimes because, not everybody's dealt with death, right? And not everyone has grieved the loss of someone. But when you do, it is just, it's something that's inexplicable and you will never get over it. Never. You never get over it.
No, you don't, but you get with it and you
Yeah. I
understand,
mean,
and then it
yeah,
gives you a time to reflect. It
right.
gives you a time to look back and say, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? Or am I fine right where I am?
Right.
Have I, hospice individuals? Shout out to
Okay.
hospice because I met the founder of hospice here in San Diego. It's a whole philosophy. It's not just about a person dying. I mean, these are angels. When my mother was going through her transition, they call on the phone. They say, okay, we're on our way to check on your mom. Do you need anything from the grocery store? I mean, they just,
Mhm.
they were here and they would say, okay, be careful what you say because she can still hear you,
Yeah.
and they were so loving and they were so kind. And, like the Jewish tradition, I think that one of my hospice providers was Jewish because she opened the window. And that
Mm.
is their belief, is that they open the window and that allows the soul to transfer. I had another one that was a sound therapist, and I have singing bowls, and she played the singing bowls to open the portal for the transition. So there's a
Wow.
lot of beauty.
Yeah.
And I always share this story that someone told me one time. They said, birthing is traumatic because you enter in a place between urine and defecation. You arrive in a puddle of blood and slime. The
Right.
first thing that happens to you is corporal punishment. They thump your
Right.
foot, they slap your bottom, and they suck some snot out of your nose.
Yeah.
So that's traumatic when you get here. But then you do
Mhm.
this thing called life, and then you have to go out the other side. Some are
Mhm.
shot out, some are pushed out, some are just naturally, they just naturally decay.
Mhm.
Some decide that this is not for them and they want to go on to the next level. But
Right.
understand that there's a party waiting for them. The same people that were waiting for you when you got here, there's going to be people waiting for you when you get on the other side.
Mhm.
So try to live your best life somewhere in between and
Yeah.
figure it out. Make peace with yourself, not with other individuals. They're not coming with you. Not
The thing is,
not with yeah, not with
no.
your things or your possessions or your houses or your cars or your diamonds or your wigs or your purses. That's not going with you, but it's your
Right.
heart and it's your soul. And thank you so much, Griz, for taking the time to just really kind of piece this together because it's very unique. I love again that emotional fiction. I like that genre. But before we conclude, let's talk about some fun stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Who are some of your favorite authors?
Um, well, when I was a kid, I loved Dr. Seuss.
Oh, I know. I know they his
I
wife
think,
was here in San Diego.
yeah, really. Yeah, I think right now I really like Matthew Haig's books. I've read a lot of Frida McFadden as well. So I enjoy books like that. I think I like to read different authors, right? So I don't just stick to one. But Matthew Haig, I really enjoy his work. So I would say he's probably my top.
Where do you go to write? Where is your favorite place? Is it, Is it in the park? Is it out there on that beautiful patio? Where do you?
I think when I write, it's usually down by the water. We have a room down there, and we sit down there and write. My husband's a writer. He's an author as well.
Oh,
He's going to kill me because I didn't say he was my favorite author, but he writes science fiction. But I think usually it's down by the water, or just in any room in the house when it's quiet, right? So it's hard for me to find quiet time, but that's usually when I do it. So
do you have children?
no, I don't have any kids.
Okay, so your spouse is a writer as well. Has he always been a writer, or he's started writing recently?
He actually started writing before I did, but he published his book before I did, about 2 months before. But he was writing for a couple of years. As I said, when I started writing stories, it wasn't even planned. I was just
Wow.
typing stories for my sisters and for myself so we could go to sleep. But
But
yeah, I
that
mean,
energy, just that energy kind of moved through you. That it was
yeah,
channeled to you. It was
yeah,
something that you were predestined to do. I bet that's fun. And do you
yeah.
bounce ideas off of one another?
We do. Yep, yeah.
That's a good bonding. If I came to visit you in Texas, where would
Yeah.
you take me?
Well, I would take you out to dinner. I'd take you to my favorite restaurant. It's called the Mercury. So one side is steaks and fish and everything, and then the other side is the sushi side. We usually eat on the sushi side, which is my favorite. So we would go there. I don't know. I think I'd probably take you to places like Fort Worth and places that have a little bit of history, right? So not the mall or anything like that. I think we'd have to find interesting places to go, places that have character and where there's history, right? Places that other people wouldn't take you.
Okay, so when I come to the Bahamas, where are you going to take me?
Right here.
Yeah, that beautiful, beautiful.
So I love it here. I think in the Bahamas, so we live on an island called Eleuthera, and it's about a 25-minute flight from Nassau. And I think here there's a place called the Queen's Bath, which is really beautiful. There's lots of really beautiful places that are just kind of hidden. So I think they're hidden gems, and it's a very quaint island. So there's not a lot of people, right? Some of the other islands are very full of people and tourists and whatnot. But I think when you come here, the island is long and spread out. So you don't really see a lot of other people. You'll see them at the grocery store and, on the road maybe. But when you get tucked away into the Airbnb or the home that you're visiting, you're really kind of in your own area because the beaches are very quiet. The sand is pink and soft and beautiful. So
But the
I
people there are very spiritual. They're very into nature. They are
Yeah, I love
tribal.
the people
They're,
here.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
tribal indigenous people.
yeah,
So there is a
yeah,
lot of history there. There's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of spirits there. So you're in
yeah,
the right place.
yeah. They're a lot of fun. I love them.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen,
Oh,
what appliance would you be?
I think I'd be a toaster.
Why would you be a toaster?
Because I think every morning we visit the toaster. So we depend on it every day for nourishment. First thing in the morning, right? It's always toast or a bagel or you're heating up something on the toaster. So I think we touch ours every single day. So I would want to be something that's constantly helping and being used to produce or do something for someone. So I think that's why I was in HR, right? I loved to help people. And when I retired, like I like to help animals and people and whoever I can help, I do it. So
Your spirit animal.
my spirit animal, um, I don't know what my spirit animal would be. Are we assigned spirit animals?
Well, some that you connect with. I was given my spirit animal by a Native American shaman. She gave me two. She gave me one that's an elephant and
Yeah,
the other one that was an owl.
yeah,
And I tell you, every time I've seen an owl,
yeah,
and I had an opportunity to go to Thailand and be among the elephants, bathe them, feed them. And I
yeah,
looked into her eyes, and I had a conversation. I
yeah,
had a conversation. So when you talk about, channeling and animals, While you're there in your meditation or in your thought process, think about what your spirit animal is, because again, you connect with that because you write about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there that you'll always see. Maybe it's a beautiful cockatoo, or
Yeah.
or a peacock. I mean, you got all those beautiful birds there, but there's something there that connects and resonates with your soul.
Yeah.
And in closing, Griz, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be?
I think I want people to remember me as someone who always tried to help. I want people to remember that I I try to help people without wanting something in return. So I think there's not a lot of that in the world because there's always an expectation. So I want someone to remember me by just how much I helped, or what I did for them and how I helped them. So how I did something that made life better for them.
Well, I think that you've done that in your work capacity in corporate, in human resources, and as well as your emotional fiction in your writing. So thank you. And I give you your flowers today because,
Thank
again,
you.
that's very important. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you and how to purchase a copy of the book.
Okay, so the book is available on Amazon. It's also available through other retailers online. So if you go to my website, it's chroniclesofthegrimreaper.com. There's a link there that you can go to books to read, and it's available on Kobo and other retailers. So they can get it there, and they can get in contact with me through the website as well, just through the contact us page. And I'd love to hear from people. So and I think the books are pretty amazing, right? They're my books, but again, I think everybody did a really great job, right? So my team of the editor and my two cover design artists are unbelievable, and I want to say thank you to them, because without them, these books would not be here. So
They are here and they are
yeah,
here and
Colin
they have
was
created a
Alexander.
legacy. And they have
Yeah,
created a legacy.
yeah.
Brains, I need you to go in, and you know what I'm going to connect you with, Griz? I'm going to connect you with some of my grief recovery specialists,
Okay.
because I think it's powerful to be able to offset some of that. You've got to work through it, but if you have a distraction, a positive distraction, or if you have an equalizer, someone that
Mm-hmm.
helps you stabilize when they're ready, I think that that would be powerful. So that might be a group that you want to connect with, or a
Yeah,
group that you might want to speak to.
yeah.
Brains, go in and love, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, we've got all kinds of stuff. We've got cooking, we've got authors, we've got music, fun, all kind of challenges for you to be able to have a distraction in a positive way. Thank you so much again, Griz, for being here on the edge. We'll talk
Thank
to
you,
you again
April. All
soon.
right.
Right?
Take care.
Bye, Brains. Have a good day. Take care of yourself now.